Hi, my viewers. Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a woman and thought, that went well, but something still felt off? Like she was there, smiling, responding, even agreeing with you, but you couldn't actually feel her? That quiet distance you can't explain. That's not in your head. And once you understand what's really happening in that moment, it's going to change the way you read women completely. Because you're not talking to just one version of her, you're talking to three. And the version you think you understand the most is usually the least real. Most men never realize this. They listen to what she says, but miss what she's actually communicating. They focus on behavior, but misread intention. And then later, weeks, months, sometimes years down the line, they feel confused when things suddenly shift. But nothing suddenly changed. They were just seeing the surface the entire time. So let me show you something that will make all of this make sense. Every woman operates in layers. Not because she's hiding something in a negative way, but because that's how human connection works. We don't reveal everything at once. We open up in stages, depending on how safe and understood we feel. And the first layer you meet is the surface. This is the version of her that's easy to talk to, polite, friendly, balanced. She smiles, she engages, she keeps the conversation smooth, and this is where most men get comfortable too quickly. Because it feels like connection, but it's not. It's social behavior. It's the version of her that exists to keep interactions respectful and low risk. Think about how you act when you meet someone new. You're not showing them everything about yourself immediately. You present a version that's easy to engage with. She's doing the same thing. The difference is many men mistake this for emotional interest. So they relax too early. They assume things are progressing. They think, she likes me. But what she's actually doing is being socially calibrated. And if you don't recognize that, you'll always feel that subtle distance without understanding why. Now here's where things begin to shift. The second layer. This is where real connection starts to show up, but it's quiet and easy to miss if you're not paying attention. This is when she starts becoming more herself. Her responses aren't just agreeable anymore. She begins to share opinions. Maybe she disagrees with you slightly. Maybe she tells you something personal, not deeply vulnerable yet, but real. There's less filtering, more authenticity. But here's the key most men miss. You don't reach this layer by trying to impress her. You reach it by making her feel understood. That's a completely different focus, because when you're trying to impress, your attention is on yourself, how you sound, how you're coming across, whether you're saying the right thing. But when you're trying to understand, your attention shifts to her. You listen more carefully, you respond more thoughtfully, you pick up on small details most people ignore. And that creates something powerful: emotional safety. When she feels like she can express herself without being judged, corrected, or evaluated, she starts to open. Not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually. And that's when the interaction starts to feel different, more real, more grounded, less like a performance and more like a connection. But even this isn't the deepest level, because there's a third layer, and very few men ever reach it. This is her core. This is where her real thoughts live, her deeper values, her fears, her insecurities, the parts of her that she doesn't show easily because they actually matter. And this layer doesn't open because you're charming. It doesn't open because you said the right things. It opens because of consistency, because of trust built over time. This is where a lot of men go wrong. They try to skip steps, they feel a little connection, and immediately try to go deeper. They ask more personal questions. They push for emotional openness. They want to fast forward intimacy. But connection doesn't work like that. The moment it feels rushed, it feels unsafe. And when something feels unsafe, she pulls back. Not because she's not interested, but because the pacing feels off. Real connection grows slowly. It's built in moments, in consistency, in the way you show up over time, not just once, not just when it's convenient, but steadily. And when a woman starts to trust that, something shifts. Her guard drops. Her communication becomes more direct. She stops filtering herself so much, and now you're not just talking to her, you're experiencing her. And that's the difference most men never fully understand. They stay stuck at the surface, wondering why things feel polite but distant, or they rush into depth and trigger resistance without realizing it. But the men who naturally create attraction, they understand pacing. They don't rush, they don't force, they observe, they listen, and they allow the connection to unfold at its natural speed. That patience is what makes them stand out because it's rare. Most people are trying to get somewhere fast. Very few are willing to let something build. Now think about your own experiences for a second. Have you ever talked to someone who was nice but you didn't feel connected to them? And then later you meet someone else, and the conversation just feels different, more engaging, more real, like there's something underneath the words. That difference isn't luck, it's depth. And depth only happens when you move through these layers the right way. So, the next time you're talking to a woman and everything seems smooth, but something feels slightly distant, don't panic. Don't assume she's not interested, and don't try to fix it by talking more or trying harder. Instead, ask yourself a better question. Which layer am I actually experiencing right now? Because if it's the surface, that's normal. That's where everything starts. But if you want something real, something deeper, something that actually lasts, you have to move with awareness. You have to understand that connection isn't built in what's said on the surface. It's built in what's felt underneath. And once you start seeing that, once you start recognizing the difference between politeness and genuine openness, you stop misreading signals, you stop overthinking, and for the first time, you actually begin to understand what's really happening in front of you. And that's where everything changes. Subscribe and